Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Sunday. I hope everybody's in the rock and roll gear zone this morning because we have quite a bit to talk about. Welcome to everyone who's joined us so early this Sunday morning. That's always appreciated. Love to see you guys every Sunday. Welcome to the newcomers. Welcome to the old timers. I'm going to call you old timers now because we've been doing this for what? 147 shows. 147 shows, not too bad. If you consider that, once a week, more or less, it's been going on for quite a while. So I appreciate everyone who's tuning into these shows every Sunday. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, welcome. I just wanted to mention that Addicted to Gear, the live shows, the Sunday shows happen every Sunday, or we try to make them happen every Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And so if you guys are early risers on Sunday, and I know not all of you are, I welcome you guys to join the channel and join the live shows, because that's where we get to talk one-on-one. So the channel has gear reviews. I put them out regularly, or at least I try to. And then the Sunday shows, we talk about all that stuff. And for me, it's the better time because there's more of a connection between me and you guys, and I get to hear what you guys are interested in and what's going on. And it's a better connection in my opinion. So today I'm just I pulled out this Harley Benton guitar. This is the Fusion guitar that I got a while ago. It's been modified with Jalen pickups here, and not hot pickups at all. I'm playing through a deluxe reverb patch. Every time I hear this chord, it reminds me of a song. What song is it? Oh yeah. All-time classic. I love that song. It popped into my brain with that. Just hearing that one chord. So this guitar has humbuckers in it. They're not the original Harley Benton humbuckers. As I mentioned, I upgraded those, changed them to something else, and they do have the coil split. So if I hit the little switch here, you'll hear that's that's split. This is not. You hear the difference? I don't usually use the split coil on my guitars. I like the regular sound of the great, the full spectrum of the humbucker. But sometimes it could come in handy. This guitar doesn't have any push-pull pots. It's just the switch here. And basically the three-way. It's a very cool guitar, and of course I think they were after trying to mimic, I think, the Pete Thorne Sur guitar, and with the stainless steel frets and everything and the locking tuners. I did a full review on this guitar. You can check that out on my channel if you're interested. It's a cool guitar. I like it. So let's start off by saying hi to everybody this morning and see who's in the house bright and early. So Randy, good morning. All is good for me, Randy. I hope everything's good for you too. And Jack says he's really enjoying his new Epiphone Special 2. It has bigger jumbo frets than the Jackson. So just to clarify that question, Jack, are you talking specifically about the Epiphone Special 2 E1? Is that the one you're referring to? Because I'm not sure if there's more than one Epiphone 2. But if it is, it's a cool guitar. Not that expensive either. Gene, good morning. And Gene says, good morning, ATG gang. Callie checking in. Don't forget to answer the poll questions. Thank you for reminding me, Gene, because early in the morning I'm a little bit of a scatterbrain. So yeah, we put in a poll question. I know some of you have a little bit of trouble finding the poll question. So I put the link in the chat. Hopefully you guys can see it there. And I can repeat what the poll question is for those of you who can't see it for whatever reason. And I apologize for that. I don't know why that is. Not really sure why some of you can see it and some of you can't. I'm not really sure if it's like some kind of preference you have to select to be able to see it or not, but I'll just read it to you in case you just want to answer the poll question right here in the chat. You can do that as well. So the poll question for today says, if you had $1,000 to spend in order to improve your tone, what would you most likely spend it on? Would you spend it on a better guitar? Would you spend it on a better amplifier? More effects pedals? Music lessons? Or none of the above? I already have amazing tone. So you have five selections there. So better guitar is A, better amp is B, more effects pedals is C, music lessons is D, and none of the above. I already have amazing tone is A, B, C, D, E, F, right? A, B, C, D, E. No, E, sorry. Yeah, so if you guys answer the question, and while we're talking today, at the end of the show, I'll share the results. You can definitely go and check those out for yourself in the meantime. And some people already have commented on that. So somebody said, I have some pretty awesome guitars and amps. Favorite combo is my Gibson Les Paul Classic and Mesa Boogie Mark 5. For 1K, I think I'd be better to spend it on some higher end pedals. Okay, so that's interesting. And Presley says, I'm spending my $1,000 towards my vacation, which is always a good thing to do. And Vile Lindgren says, new speakers for my cabinet. So that's not one of the choices, but that is actually something that I could have added in. Unfortunately, we're limited to 5 options when we do these polls, so you can't get too elaborate with them, you know. But yeah, so there you go. Those are the poll questions for today. If you haven't answered them, feel free. And let me just continue to say hi here. Paul, good morning. And Paul says his laptop died for good. It was around $200 new, so I earned it. It earned its keep. $200. You can't get anything for $200 today. Decided to move up to a space to do pro level home recording. Did my homework, then found the deal. So don't keep us in suspense. What did you end up going with for high end recording? Let us know, because you know, maybe someone else is looking for the same thing. And looking for an upgrade. I upgraded my computer too this year because my laptop wasn't cutting it. I needed something with more power, just more space, and, you know, just more efficient. Sorry guys, I'm having the rest of my coffee here. So Gary, good morning. Gary says he's not seeing a poll. I don't know why that is, Gary, but if you can perhaps just answer the questions in the chat, that'll make things easier. I did put the poll in the chat, by the way, guys, before the show started, so take a look at that. Okay, all right, let me just scroll down. There's a lot of people here this morning already, so I want to get the show started so we can talk about good stuff. And hi to everybody. And yeah, so I'm just looking quickly. I'm just scrolling through the questions, going to the end now, and just checking to see if there's any interesting questions already. If you guys got any cool gear this week or are eyeballing some new gear, let us know. Vox says, new life goal to own every guitar on Tony's shirt. I think I'm getting pretty close, actually, guys, if I look at it here. If I look at it, okay, this is an Ibanez. I had an Ibanez already. Strats, yes. Acoustic, this looks like it was on this side. I'm trying to do this backwards with my fingers. Yeah, this looks like a Martin, had one of those. This one, I'm not sure, didn't have one of those. SRV Strat, have one of those. Les Paul, have a couple of those. Some more Strats. Where's the Telecaster? Okay, this is a Gretsch, I believe. I don't have one of those yet. What else? You know, I just noticed that there's no Telecasters in this picture. That's not good. I'm going to have to add one in. No Telecasters. What the heck? No wonder I got it so cheap. It's defective. There's no Telecasters. Okay. Anyways. So if you want to get, if you want to accomplish that bucket list goal, Vox, you got to get cracking on that. Lion King says, I love cherry sunburst Les Pauls. I used to hate them, but my taste changed over time. That's always the case. Me too. I kind of flip-flop. You know, sometimes when you have a couple of guitars, you tend to gravitate eventually to stuff you don't have. Like right now, I'm kind of eyeballing the SGs. and I never really was an SG fan, and I don't have an SG. But I'm like, maybe it's time. I don't know. Okay. So I'm just going through. All right. So I'm at the bottom of the questions now, and if you guys want to ask anything in specifically, please do. I want to remind everybody, please, if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you're in the chat today, we have already 50 people watching. You have to click the subscribe button to be able to chat. So I highly encourage you guys do that. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to put in your questions and comments. All right. Let's see. Donald B23 says, picked up a new Les Paul special from Gibson Demo Shop. 750 euros. It's amazing. Demo Shop isn't a bad shout for new Gibsons. That's cool. So I never buy anything in Europe because, yeah, I'm in Canada, so it doesn't make sense. But thanks for that tip. Maybe some other people could take advantage of that little tip you're sharing there. Mark says, Tony, if you live near me, I'd let you try my SG and you'd want one. Mine is really, really good. I believe you, Mark. I picked up a couple of SGs in the store just to strum them and feel them. The ones that I tried in the store had a very comfortable neck. They weren't like Ibanez thin, front to back, but they were very comfortable. And yeah, it felt really great. So maybe, you never know. If I come across a deal someplace, maybe I will eventually bite that bullet. Yeah, effortless, I know. The only thing that I'm after in an SG is just getting an SG that doesn't have a heavy body or doesn't have neck dive. Excuse me, guys. Yeah, I don't like neck heavy. That's the thing. But the one I tried in the store, to be honest, Randy, didn't seem neck heavy. So I don't know if they're doing something with those guitars. Maybe not. Maybe it's just happened to find one that didn't have that issue. But I agree. A lot of them do have that neck dive. So, Mark says his has a fatter neck, not super fat, and it doesn't neck dive. But definitely, in terms of the access to the frets, the upper frets, yeah, SGs are probably the best option for that. They're really, you can really get high up on the money side of the frets without any issues. So, eventually, don't be surprised if you end up seeing one in the rack behind me. I just wanted to share the dog cam with you, the puppy cam. We had a little bit of a scare the last couple of days with my dog. I don't know what's going on with her, but yesterday and the day before, she kind of collapsed. And I don't know what's going on with her, but she does this thing, it's almost like she's having an asthma attack. She can't breathe. And all of a sudden she gets very weak. And she loses like her, she kind of like wobbles and like lies down and is like struggling for breath. And then that lasts about an hour or so. She's not moving, kind of just like in her own fixated, trying to grasp for breath. And then after a while it passes and she's back to normal. But it's already happened twice. And that's 2 days in a row. So I'm a little bit stressed, guys. I love my dog. She's going to be 14 in March. Hopefully she gets there. But, I don't know what's going on. So I don't know if any of you have had dogs and have had similar issues. It's not a seizure. It doesn't seem to be like a seizure. But it just comes on really suddenly. Like she's fine. And then all of a sudden she's like really weak and wobbly and trying to catch her breath. Almost like she's choking on something. But she's not. So I don't know. Could be heart issues. It could be lots of things. She's getting up there. But yeah, it's really sad and stressful because you don't know when it's gonna come on because it comes on so suddenly, and at the same time, if ever she's alone in the house when that happens, it's it's not what we want. So yeah, hopefully it's just an isolated incident and she'll be better. But you can see that she's sleeping like a baby right now. She's just resting. She's had her breakfast. She's went out like usual, and she's just relaxing and not even snoring all that much this morning. But yeah, it could be heart issues. I really don't know. But it's just odd because it's more like she's gasping for breath, as opposed to just getting weak. I don't know. So we'll see. I'm going to have to bring her to the vet this week. Called the emergency vets. They're useless. You get a recorded message and nothing that they could, you can't do anything with these people. So probably this week I'll have to make an appointment and take her in for a checkup or something. Just get a blood test and see what's going on. And hopefully I won't have to make that dreaded decision. You know what I'm talking about. But, if she's suffering, then we'll have to do what's best for her. But I'm hoping that's not going to be the case, and it's, maybe some medication or something could help her. We'll see. I'll keep you posted. The challenges of life. On a happier note, I wanted to wish my nephew happy birthday today. Mattia in Italy sometimes tunes in and lurks in the background, hoping he might be tuning in today. It's his birthday today. And I wanted to send out a special birthday wish for him. Young man, very very independent young fellow. He's actually a doctor, but more importantly, he likes to play guitar too. And he's modifying guitars, and he's doing some I'm not gonna say major modifications, but he's doing his own thing. I think he built at one point, or he painted a Telecaster. He made a Jimmy Page dragon paint job on one of his Telecaster, which came out really, really nice, actually. And I actually asked him if he'd mind doing one for me if I send him a Telecaster body. But since he's a doctor and he's working all the time and he's doing his own stuff, I don't want to necessarily, steal his time away. But I'm happy to see that he's doing that. So it's really cool. Happy birthday, Mattia, if you're watching. The sad dog stories, they break my heart. Everybody's got one, I'm sure. Pets are gold, definitely. They're just a bundle of fur love, And, even though she went through all of that and it was scary for her, and, when it was over with and you were petting her, she's like, wagging her tail and happy that you're there. And, so they definitely live in the moment, and it's definitely something we could learn from, I think, They just focus on the now, which is great. So, yeah. Alan, he's the guitar doctor. I don't know if he's the guitar doctor, but he's the guitar/doctor, I guess you can say that. I can't get him on the live podcasts unless he's up. Actually, no, he's in Europe. He's all the way in Italy, so we would have to do a podcast. But that could be something we can talk about. Yeah, maybe. Never know. Steve says, sorry to hear that, Tony. My dog may have had a stroke and was at the vet 2 days before his 12th birthday last month. He's getting better, but still not 100%. It's always, it's sad towards the end because you really want to do the best for your dogs. And, sometimes there's just not much to do, unfortunately. It's one of those things with getting old in the cycle of life. Gary says, I lost my Tanner Beagle 2 years ago. He had a softball-sized tumor on his liver. Yeah, that's it. The key is not to make them suffer, just to make them have the best life. Ron says you should, and welcome, Ron. I think Ron's new. I haven't seen your name here before, Ron, so welcome if you're new. He says, Ron, you should look into a Shadow Ski Telecaster style. The fretboard feels like butter. It's 1993. I'm not familiar with that brand, but I can definitely take note and take a look at it. And I appreciate your suggestions, you guys, because I like to keep up with the new stuff. Yeah, currently 4:20 p.m. in Italy, exactly. So it'd be doable, but it depends on what he has planned. Today he might be doing something special for his birthday, and so on and so forth. Mark says my wife is watching. She says the dog is her favorite pet. Pet of the show or part of the show? She's not into guitars. I appreciate that, even if she's not into my part of the show. Yeah, it's cool. Probably, I'd say there's 49 of you on the chat today. Probably 48 of you. 48 of you are probably here for the dog, but that's okay. Anyways, Surfer Bye. We had a little issue with the dog yesterday. And the day before, she kind of had a little issue. We don't really know what it is at this point, but it's almost like she kind of kind of collapsed, had trouble breathing. It lasted for about an hour and then she was okay. So hopefully nothing happens when we're live on the air. But if I suddenly leave, you'll know why. Um, Anyways, well, let's tune into more positive things, shall we? One of the things I wanted to bring up with you guys, again, answer the poll question. Please give me a thumbs up if you guys can. That always helps the channel. And I always appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, you can definitely do that with thumbs up, subscriptions, super chats if you feel like doing that. It's always appreciated. And you also have the super thanks on the videos now. So if you like the video and you want to support the channel, you hit the little super thanks button and you could make a donation to the channel, which also helps. All right. That's all I wanted to mention. Now, of course, I wanted to talk about something that came across this week. Some you guys probably saw already. So, Badland guitars. Have you seen this? You guys probably already heard some of the news because it's out there on YouTube. Basically, Badland's Guitars is a new guitar line that is, I'm not sure if it's, I don't know who's making those guitars. I gotta look into it, but give me 1 second. I just want to see if I can find out who that is. I mean, not the person behind the project. I'm talking about the company making the guitars. I don't know if it was mentioned. Anyways, it's Philip McKnight that kind of started a guitar company, and he's putting out these new guitars. They're called Badland guitars. And what it is a series of guitars. They're a limited edition. So in other words, you can order a few of them. You can order as little as one or a few more. And he'll do runs of these guitars, but they're always going to be slightly different. So it's almost like buying into a guitar purchase in a group. Now, I think he mentioned the guitars are being made in the United States. I'm not really sure. He did mention where the parts are coming from, which is cool because then you know how much of the guitar is actually made in the States and how much of the guitar is actually, sourced elsewhere. But unfortunately, I gotta say, guys, I looked into it. It's a cool idea, but they're very expensive. Mark, exactly. I looked into it. It's $2,600 US, and I think that's before taxes. And I'm not even sure if I can order one in Canada. If I could, then obviously there would probably be duties and shipping, also. So, I was behind the idea. I thought it was cool. But then I saw the price, and I'm like, no, sorry. I think they could have done something better where they could, basically do a limited run. I like the paint job ideas. I don't necessarily like the stripes on the guitar, but eventually if they come out with some nicer paint jobs, that's cool. I'm not a big fan of the headstock, to be honest, but they're still cool guitars. But, look, if I can get a Harley Benton guitar like this with stainless steel frets, a nice, a really nice bridge, pretty decent paint job. You can get different versions with the locking tuners and everything, and you can get this for like under $500. I don't see why I should pay $2,600 for a guitar. It seems like everybody's jumping onto the Sir and the Friedman bandwagon, where they're just automatically a guitar is going to cost you almost $3,000. And I'm sorry, I don't buy into that train of thought. So because of that, I'm out. If you guys watch Shark Tank, you know where I got that from. I think you can definitely buy an awesome guitar for $2,600. When you're getting to that price range, you have a lot of choice. Okay. If you're getting under $1,000, you might be limited. Okay. And I understand, if the guitar is well built, $1,000, whatever it is, okay, fine. I know it comes with certain things, case candy and all kinds of other things that I really honestly don't need. But no, $2,600, sorry. If I'm gonna be doing the $2,600 guitar purchase, it's gonna be specifically what I want, and yeah, sorry. So Phil, I like Philip McKnight. He's a cool guy. I like his channel. Good idea. Price out of whack. Sorry. So I don't know if you guys feel the same way as I do on this, but if you do, please let me know, because maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. And I don't think like the brand is going to be collectible, and it could probably disappear tomorrow. If things don't go well and they don't have a lot of orders, et cetera, logistics. If the thing folds tomorrow, because it's not like it's his company, he's just basically outsourcing the guitars to another company, and they're probably just drop shipping the orders, to the customers. It could close, it could fold any second, any day, if things don't go right. So at the end of the day, you're holding a guitar that nobody really wants, and you pay $2,600 or more for it. Think about it. So that's how I see it. And maybe I'm just bitter. I wouldn't say bitter. I really couldn't care less. I hope Phil makes a ton of money with this deal. I don't know how much money he's actually making off of it. It's probably a small percentage or whatever, but he's advertising for it. So I guess he's pushing the marketing wheel behind it, so people get know about it. And if you can make some money out of it, hey, at the end of the day, everybody's got to make a living. So that's pretty cool. But if you give me $2,600, I can build a crazy good guitar. Exactly. Munch, I always mess it up, sorry. Munch says, just think of a guitar you could build for $2,600. Yeah, if you got the skill, or get somebody to build it for you, for all that matters, because you can definitely find somebody that could probably build you a great guitar for that price. So that's it. I just wanted to give you my 2 cents on that. You can definitely get a Presley California Customs for under $2,600. So think about it. Mark says they are aiming at the niche 80 shredder market. I don't fall into that, so not something I'm into. I'm sure it's nice though. Yeah, if I wanted to buy a really nice 80 shredder guitar, I'd probably get the Satchel Charvel with the crazy paint job, the bright colors and whatnot. It's still a Charvel, and I can probably get it for that kind of money, and I don't think it would be much different. Are they dipped in gold? I'm not sure. Maybe, perhaps. Perhaps they're sprinkled with some kind of pixie dust. I don't know. Not really sure. Steve wants to know, Tony, watch the Tone King video. They talk about what they're doing. Okay, cool. I'll do that. Yeah. Jack says Tony Harley Benton guitars out with Godot bridge and stuff on it. Yeah, I know. I've seen those. I have another, just to warn you guys, I have another Harley Benton on the way, which I'm going to review and talk about shortly. I'm just waiting for it. And Eddie says Eddie's Frankie was around $250, and look what he's done with that. Exactly. It's not really the guitar. That really goes back to my poll. It's a good tie-in to the poll, guys, because honestly, you can spend a lot of money to get a guitar, and I'm not saying don't do it if you have the cash. If you have the cash, you want that vintage guitar, that 1969 Gibson or whatever it is, do it. If that makes you happy. I don't think it's going to necessarily give you better tone, but it'll make you happy, and it'll make you enjoy playing your guitar, and that's cool. But if you're going to spend a lot of money, you're probably, in my opinion, and this is going back to the poll, you're probably better off spending that and putting the money towards guitar lessons. Because I think, without a doubt, that's probably the number one thing that will make you sound better, regardless of what you're plugging into. So think about that before you make the next purchase. And I don't want to bring anybody down. I know we're all here because we love gear. I'm just saying, take it with a grain of salt. Tacoma, welcome. He says, I'm getting ready to follow your steps on fret leveling on my Squier 40th edition Telecaster. That's great. Thank you. I'm glad that somebody's watching those videos and taking some tips off of that. For those of you who don't know, I did put out a series of videos that were kind of like on the workbench type thing where I show how I do fret leveling and crowning and polishing and everything. And the reason why I put those videos out there is because the process is not that hard to learn. I don't recommend you go out and do that on your uber expensive limited edition, collector's guitar if it's the first time you're doing it. But if you want to learn how to do it, and you have perhaps like a scrap neck lying around, maybe a Squire neck or something else that's not that expensive, or an old guitar, you can definitely practice on that. And after doing it a couple of times, you're going to start seeing that you're going to get the hang of it. And honestly, that for me was a game changer when I started actually working on my own guitars and doing the setups and everything. It made my guitars very personal in terms of the way I like them. Changed the way I approach. I mean, now I can pick up a guitar in a shop, and with like in about 4 seconds, I can see what the issue is, whether or not the bridge is at the right place, if the saddles haven't been adjusted properly, if the neck relief is off, if the string height is too low or too high, if the nut is not cut properly, all that stuff at a glance. Like honestly, like probably 4 to 6 seconds, I can tell you what the guitar needs. And because of that, when I buy a used guitar, I'm not afraid, if I come across a guitar that's all of a sudden has buzzing issues when you're trying it and it's otherwise a great guitar, I can tell right away if that's something that is a minor, just an adjustment thing, or major, which I should walk away from the deal on. So it's definitely something that you guys should learn if you can. Paul says the Badland is meant to have the best off and made in USA if possible. Hand select best woods, aged wood, so no moisture problems, all done by legit luthiers. I'm sure that the work is being done by legit luthiers. I'm sure it's not being built in somebody's guitar garage or something like that. I think everybody probably realizes that. But I'm just like, again, I'm off put by the price on those guitars. And honestly, I think it's just a matter of time before they actually probably get sued for the name, because if I'm not mistaken, Badland Guitars is a guitar shop in is it Europe? There's actually a Badlands Guitars shop that exists. And yeah, I'm pretty sure they already have the rights to the name, so it may cause issues, may not, depends. I don't know what the logistics are about it, but anyway, we'll keep our eyes on it. We wish Phil McKnight all the best, and we'll see where it goes. It's the same thing with Chapman. All these guys are jumping on that bandwagon. If they have a good following, it's a good way to jumpstart that that process. Similar to what you would do with Kickstarter, that kind of thing. Presley, California Custom says, I set up a customer's $5,000 Les Paul Custom Access. It was pretty amazing, worth $5K ? If it's what you want and you can afford it, go for it. Yeah, that's my mentality too. And Mark says, plus if you put money into the amp, someone is more likely to steal your guitar. No one wants to steal a heavy amp. That's true. That's really true. Speaking of amps, I wanted to show you guys something. I'll just quickly switch over to the pooch cam, because you can see it better. So you see the cabinet back there. So I basically took my Brunetti head, plugged it into the cabinet that I showed you guys last week with the cream back speaker in it, and the cabinet's finished. So I put the corner protectors on there. Didn't have that last week. Put the metal corner protectors on. Everything's on now. The grill is on. The piping is around the grill. The only thing I'm missing is possibly a little logo there. But the cream back speaker sounds really great with the Brunetti Pleximat. But the reason why I wanted to show you that is because there's a little trick I wanted to share with you guys. If you guys like to put your heads on top of your cabinets, sometimes you have Tolex that's a little bit more delicate, that kind of compresses and leaves marks. What I would recommend, an easy fix for that, is just to get some of these cork coasters. You can get these at IKEA, a whole bunch of these for like $1 or something, or even at the dollar store probably. Anyways, they're made of cork. You just slip them under the feet of the head so that it doesn't leave marks on your cabinet. I have on the other here on the other one, you see the Friedman, and I have the Marshall up there at the top over the Friedman. I have these big fat foam wedges that I got in packaging. Something that I ordered came with these, so I use those, but they're not very convenient, those, because what ends up happening is that they kind of they compress and it's not level. So these are much better. So this is a tip for you guys, just in case you want to protect your stuff, and it's an easy way of doing it. All right, so don't say I don't share my tips with you. No matter how small or insignificant, they can help somebody. So Jack says, I was watching Tone King the other night, and they said something about they've already sold 15 guitars. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. They have a nice following, those guys. I'm sure they're going to sell. Ed says, Tony, new XMG30 manual is unclear. How many third-party IRs can you load? I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I think it's like 20 to 25. Something like that. I would have to check. Sorry, I don't have that number like memorized, but I think it's about 20 or 25 IRs. Nowhere near the amount of IRs that you can load on the FM9. And by the way, if you guys are wondering about the FM9, I haven't sold it. I haven't sold it. I was playing earlier through the Valaton because it's here and it's smaller. I'm still like learning that stuff, that thing. It's great, I gotta say. I like it, but there's so much to learn. And I have some videos already in the can for you guys. I just have to trickle them out for that. So if you guys are interested, I can start trickling those out soon. Russell says a lot of neck through PV USA basses. LOL. I should get good appreciation on those, even though I love them to death. He says he's got 35 to sell, but it's got to be more structured. Yeah, snoring well. You can hear her in the background. Like I said, the Fractal is awesome. I played it live for the first time during a rehearsal. It was really good. I really already love it in terms of what you can do with it. There's really no limitation to that thing. That's what I love about it most. It's just a question of how you can sort of just squeeze all the, the different routing that you want, or the effects and all that kind of stuff. It's really a really crazy machine. So far, the best I've played, I have to say, without a doubt, hands down. I don't think they're getting the guitars from Chapman. I doubt that very much. But it could be, an affiliate company, somebody else that's doing that kind of stuff. Presley says, my dad gave me my first fret rocker at age 14 because I was always buying my friends unwanted guitars and taking them home to mod and sell. He got tired of leveling frets for me, so he taught me to check. That's cool. That's cool. It's good that your dad is handing down the knowledge. Taking the fret rocker and handing it down to the next generation. And Presley, I don't know if you have kids, but perhaps you'll do that to your kids eventually. Who knows? Surfer By says, think you'll be selling off some amps at some point? You know what? Before I got the FM9, I would have said probably not. But I gotta tell you one thing. The FM9 has definitely curbed my gas for amps. That doesn't mean it's stopped. That doesn't mean other amps are not going to come in. It's just that now I'm like, I think about it and I'm like, yeah, it's a cool amp, but I can pretty much get that tone, so do I really need the amp? You know what I'm saying? That's how I kind of look at things. So it doesn't mean new amps are not going to come in. I think they're definitely going to come in. It's got to be something pretty special or different, in my opinion. And speaking of amps, I took a look at the, what is it? The Sonzera. Have you guys seen the Epiphone, no, the Epiphone, the PRS Sunzera amp? They just re-released another version. They had one already, and now they have another one. It's a 20 watt 1x12 amp from PRS. And for those of you that are into sort of the American flavored tone, not so much the British, because the British, they've released the Hendrix amp, which is pretty cool and sounded pretty nice. I think Mark had given us a preview on that and given us some feedback on his specific one. Now the Sunzera 20, the 1x12 combo, is kind of more based on the Fender tone. They say it's Fender influenced. I think that's what they're probably going after, the mid 60s tone. But the upgrade that they've done, or the new version, actually has two independent controllable channels now. So you have the independent clean, and you have more of a drive. It's got a full spring reverb. It's not digital. And I listened to it. It doesn't sound bad. It doesn't. The clean sounds really nice. The drive is not bad. It may be a little bit too round for my taste, but again, I've only seen a couple of videos, and I can't really tell if it's just the way the amp and guitar were dialed in, or if it's able to do a little bit more cutting drive sounds, which if you can, that would be great in a live scenario. But again, you can always go the route of using the clean channel and using your pedals with that amplifier. The thing with the reason why I can tell it's kind of based on that Fender tone, that American sound, is because if you look at the tone controls, they have bass, treble, volume, and presence. And the presence, I think, is more related to the reverb than anything. So it's just bass, treble, and volume. You basically have three tone controls, no mids, So that's why I'm thinking they're going more that route, because Fender amps usually don't have the mids on the knob. So it makes sense. It's a nice amplifier, and I don't really know how much it's going to sell for. I think it's about $1,000 in the States, but I'm not sure how much it's going to be here in Canada. Keith, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Thank you. SG Fund. My tablet won't let me go to the community page. Says to go to PC. PC? What do you mean by PC? Sorry. Oh, to go to your PC. You won't do it. I won't do it on the tablet. Okay, I see what you mean. Okay. Well, no worries, Keith. You can just put in your vote in the chat, and we'll count it as one of the final statistics on it. But thank you for the super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel. A friend gave me an old PV5 channel PA, I think, amp. It's solid state, but man, she's loud. Lots of static in the dials, though. Yeah, well, a little bit of cleaner. What do they call that? Just a pot cleaner. They have like static, different types of cans that you can get to clean deoxit type thing. You can get that cleaned out pretty well. And if worst comes to worst, you can always just change the pots if they need to. Not a big deal. But usually a little squirt of deoxit in the pots, and just go back and forth. It cleans it up pretty good. Presley, California Custom says my classic 30 combo is my number one, even over my Mesa. You're talking about the PV Classic now, Presley? I've owned the PV Classics. They're great amps. They don't get you into the Fender clean territory. They're not as punchy, I find, as the Fender amps are, but they're pretty good. In a pinch, you can do a lot with those amps, for sure. Ed's gassing over for the PRS SC 594, $1,000 though. Yeah, the SEs are about $1,000. Most of them are about $1,000. 1,000, 1,002 USD. I would like to grab the Tremonti SE. Actually, a Tremonti, a real core level Tremonti popped up on a feed recently here that I saw, and it was signed by Mark himself, and the guy was asking about $6,000 for it, which is about $6,000 too much at this point. But it's a really nice guitar. I maybe, if I ever come across a good deal on an SE Tremonti, maybe we'll pull the trigger on that. The thing with the Tremonti SEs, and I'm not sure you guys noticed this or not, if you guys have been looking at these guitars, they're often they're painted. It's basically a flamed maple top, but it's not a solid maple. It's a veneer. Usually it's black. What they call like a charcoal burst type of thing, and they're trying to get the flames to stand out like they do on the core models. But often you can see on these guitars that there's little defects, that they're getting close to sanding through the actual veneer. And if I can find a picture of one, I'm going to show you what I mean, because I notice these things. Maybe most people don't notice them, but I do. And let me see if I can just find one here, and I'll show you. If I can I'll just get an image off the internet here of somebody selling one or something, and I'll show you what I mean. Perhaps I can get one off of Reverb or something. How about this one? And usually the pictures that they post are the best ones, like the really good ones that don't have this issue, but a lot of them do. Okay, here, this is a good example right here. So let me share the screen with you guys, okay? Here we go. I'm just going to try to, can you see that? Okay, perfect. So you see, I don't know if you can see my mouse here on the screen, but you see on the right-hand side, right? You can see that the veneer here is very like wishy-washy, especially here on this side. This is because it's a veneer. It's not a solid maple top, right? I mean, the one on the left here looks much better. I don't know if that's solid maple or not. But here, if I show you this one, like, this one here is nice. You can see it is. They're not the same guitar. If they are the same guitar, then there's funny stuff happening with the pictures, but they're definitely not the same guitar. So here you can see the difference, right? So I'm hoping to get a guitar like one of these SE models that looks more like this one as opposed to this one. This doesn't really float my boat in terms of the look. It's kind of like So it's a nice guitar. I've held it in my hands. I've tried it in the stores. I like him, but again, I think that you have to come across the right one. And until I do, I'm not really going to pull the trigger. And they don't pop up on the used market that much, especially the new versions, the ones with the signature, the PRS signature in the headstock. The old Tremonti models that have Tremonti written on the headstock in big letters are the older ones, which I don't really like as much. I owned one in the past and it was kind of dead sounding. The new ones sound better, feel better. Yeah, Presley, the PV Classic 30. I had one. I think I had more than one actually, of those PVs, and they're great. They're good workhorses. You can't go wrong, and for the price, they're pretty good. They're not easy to repair if something goes wrong with them though. Just the way the circuit board is made, they tend to use these ribbon connectors that are soldered to the board, and you have to kind of pull it out and like flip it open, and they tend to break. So as long as you don't have to open it up and repair it, it's not a bad amp. The Nye wants to know if I've had any experience with the Boss Katana 100 under $600 Canadian and lots of features. I have. Yeah, I have. I was playing through the Boss Katana a couple of times, and as far as transistor amps go, it's probably one of the best bang for the buck, honestly. You can go the PV transistor version as well. They have the transistor version of their of the Bandit, which is sounds great, that amp. but it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the Boss Katana has. So if you're a tinkerer and you like to play around with effects and whatnot, then the Boss Katana is a no-brainer because you have all of that at your fingertips, and you can get them pretty cheap used. And they're selling used all the time. Yeah, and it makes a good pedal platform. Exactly, Mark. I agree. Russell says, honestly, I got the Wang's 5 watt that pushes pretty well. So if you guys don't know what Wang's is, you know what? It caught my attention too, that amplifier, because it's hand wired. It's made in China, I think. It's just that name. How did they come up with that name and not realize like what the connotations of that word is in, different parts of the world? But basically it's a hand wired, they have a head version, they have a couple of different models, lower gain, higher gain, and it's a made in China amp, as I said, but it's not that expensive, hand wired, so you get good bang for your buck as well, not extremely expensive, if you don't mind stuff that's made in China. But if it's hand wired, even if it's made in China, chances are if anything should happen to it, you can still fix it relatively easily. Yeah, Jack says he loves his katana and it's loud. 100 watts, for sure it's loud. Yeti, nice to see you, buddy. I got a PRS SE Tremonti 2021. Congratulations. Plays well. Still thinking about whether to get a Les Paul. Yeah, and that's one thing I wanted to say, Yeti, and you could agree or disagree with me. Just because the Tremontis are kind of shaped like a Les Paul because it's a single cut, to me, a PRS and a Les Paul are two different beasts. Like, I don't think I have a core model PRS as well and a few SEs. They don't necessarily replace the feel and the sound and just the experience of playing a Les Paul, right? So yeah, if I would get something like a Tremonti, then I'm pretty sure I would still enjoy playing my Les Pauls. It wouldn't be like one of them would be causing me to put the other on the chopping block in any way. I don't think so. So tell me, Yeti, tell me what's your favorite thing about the Tremonti, and what's your least favorite thing about the Tremonti, and what other guitars you currently have in your collection, because that gives me a better perspective. When somebody talks about a specific guitar, if somebody only has one guitar and they're raving about that guitar, it doesn't necessarily mean to me like the guitar is amazing because they only have one and maybe they're not comparing it to other things. But if you tell me, hey, I've 30 different guitars have come and gone and in my collection over the last little while, and the Tremonti stands out as being one of the better ones, it gives me a little bit more weight regarding your opinion on that guitar. Beavis says it's because nobody is using their best cuts for veneers. Veneers can have just as good depth and movement as solid tops. You're right, but it comes down to cost, right? And when these guitars are being made overseas, every penny counts. But I agree, I'm sure eventually I'm probably going to find one that has a good top. But I've just seen too many of these guitars that have tops that are kind of, I would almost consider them B stock, the way the tops are finished. You know what I'm saying? Alan says, I like the covered pickups better in terms of look. Me too. I tend to like the covered pickups more. But it depends on the guitar. Some guitars really rock the zebra stripe pickups quite well, but I'm not a big fan of the open black pickups. Russell says, I got mine off a dude who had been gigging it hard, came with clip on strap, and it was rashed as F and lots of oxidation. But at 750 bones, I could have resold it for twice that the next day. So that's a good deal, right? When you come across something like that you can make better with a little TLC and flip, something to consider. All right. I think I'm falling way, way, way behind on the comments. Sorry, guys. I forget to scroll sometimes. So I'll start from the bottom and work my way back up. Russell says if people are willing to prepay for a guitar in full, you can pick your own damn top. We have a lot of nice wood here for good prices. There you go. And Presley says check out one of his setup videos on the Music No Man's Suite or site. Just follow his process once with a setup and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your feedback. So, all right. Sorry I missed the... I've missed the comments. Like, I'm not following all of the comments, so I'm jumping around here. So Munch says a lot of times it's the matching of the veneers on the faces that give an A or B looking grade. I noticed that the match is awful on the pictures you showed. Yeah, like sometimes the veneer, like it's going this way on one side and this way on the other side, you know, instead of being really nicely matched. Little things like that. I don't know why they're not putting more care on those guitars. I mean, they're not cheap. It's pronounced Wang? Really? I thought it was Wang. Okay. I don't know why it's pronounced Wang. What's Wang? Private family business. Okay. Good to learn. Good to know. Beavis is having trouble with his internet. Rexomatic, nice to see you, buddy. A new name I haven't seen before. Good morning from almost in Canada, Whitefish, Montana. I have been contemplating a Rain Song WS1000 reissue carbon acoustic while it is on a $500 reduced pre-order price. Have you tried them? Unfortunately, no. I haven't tried the Rain Song, but I'm going to look into that and see. Let me see. Sometimes stuff I don't even know. So, Carbon, Rain Song. Here we are. So I'm looking at it on rainsong.com. Can you see that, guys? Nice looking acoustic guitar. I don't know. I mean, I haven't tried them. So this one's what, $1,999. So it's regular $2,499. So as you said, it's on sale. The specs say woven carbon top, full carbon fiber construction, projection tune layering, Venetian cutaway abalone rosette and one neck profile, shark inlays, 14 fret construction. 14 fret construction? How could it be 14 frets? Why 14? I don't get that. 25.4 scale length, 1.75 nut width, LR bags, Stage Pro element pickup system, and a hard shell case. And they have a refund policy. Well, it's definitely not a cheap guitar, and it excludes the sales tax as well. I haven't actually tried this guitar. I gotta say though, you know, I've tried other kind of carbon fiber composite guitars that are not this expensive. They're a lot less expensive than this one, and they sounded pretty good. You know, I was actually very surprised. So at $2,000, I'm thinking that this one will probably sound even better. So, but I can't say I can give you feedback on that. I don't know. Sorry. If anybody else has tried one. Jerry says, moving to Montana soon, gonna be a dental floss tycoon. Russell says Rain Song are are well built, but I've played them at a friend's house and they're a carbon fiber guitar. If you're into that, cool. I'm not. I don't like carbon fiber guitars, but they are super stable if you gig. I would imagine that they also exactly don't necessarily shift all that much with humidity and dryness. Probably won't have any cracking issues. But carbon fiber, although people think carbon fiber is very strong, which typically it is, but only in certain ways. Like if you buy a carbon fiber racing bike, they're extremely light. They're very good in terms of flexing, but any kind of impact will crack that fiber like nothing. So I'm not sure, depending on how the fiber is actually built, and there's different levels and qualities of fiber construction, carbon fiber construction. It doesn't mean that the guitar is not delicate. So don't assume that just because it's carbon fiber you can beat the crap out of it. It's not necessarily the case. Vox says monoprice tube amps look interesting. Not sure about servicing and such though. So I did a review on the monoprice amplifier, guys. And I gotta say, if you guys don't know, please take a look at the archive that I have of videos, because there's a ton of videos there. And I'm pretty sure some of you have missed or are not aware of all the videos that I've done, but I've reviewed the monoprice tube amplifier in my archive. You'll see that there. And my opinion on that amplifier is that obviously they used to be less expensive before. The price has gone up because the word has gotten out a little bit. I bought the one I had myself, played it for a while. Not a terrible amplifier. Not necessarily the best amplifier, but if you're looking for a budget tube amp, it can do the job. I don't know how great the tubes are stock. You might prefer to change the tubes out and put something else in. The thing is, when you're dealing with a tube amp that is sort of budget like that, you don't necessarily want to do too many upgrades, because like swapping a speaker in there, for example, and putting something better, which will make it sound better, will be, the majority of the cost of that particular amp. So it's kind of doesn't make sense, especially if you intend to sell it eventually, unless you return it back to stock, but you can make them better. Eddie says, I picked up a Yamaha THR amp, nice little bedroom amp. Yeah, a lot of people love those amps. A lot of people, and it's quite impressive what you can do with a little amp like that. It's pretty cool. Cool Tune says, Tony, thoughts on your Supersonic 22? Do you use it much lately? To be honest, Cool Tunes, I don't use it all that much. My go-to amp is still, if I want a real amp in the room sound, I usually go through the Marshall or the Friedman, the Brunetti, or the Black Star. I usually aim towards, I kind of favor the Marshall sounds, but if I want a clean Fender sound, then I obviously go through the Supersonic. But if it's a cranked type of dirt sound that I'm looking for, I usually aim for the Marshalls. I say Marshalls because they're all kind of Marshall flavor, those amps behind me. Yeah, they probably meant 24 frets, Munch. Yeah, they probably just typed a 1 instead of a 2. Paul says, most new budget amps leave me cold, especially solid state, when you can get a Fender hot rod used between $400 and $500. Yeah, the hot rods are great workhorses. A lot of these, like even the stage amp, sometimes what ends up happening with these amps, they don't sound as good because they're also biased a little bit on the cold side. So if you know how to bias your amp and you just put the bias ratio in the sweet spot, they tend to sound better. Vox says, anyone thinking about a Fender amp, would you go tube or Tone Master, and why? Great question, actually. I've reviewed a lot of the videos that were put out when the Tone Master series came out, and the Tone Masters alone don't sound bad, and they have some advantages. They're light. You know, transistor tend to not have as many issues as tubes. They don't have to be replaced. Hopefully, anyways, they shouldn't have. So on their own, and they're less expensive. So on their own, they make a good option. But honestly, the comparison videos that I've seen when they're comparing a deluxe, you know, Tone Master with a real one or something like that, to me, hands down, there's no competition. It's the tube amplifier sounds better on all the videos that I've heard. So, you know, it all depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for convenience? Are you looking for flexibility? Or are you looking for long-term, you know, tone and quality? I don't know. To me, I think the transistor lines tend to come and go with Fender specifically. They tend to, like, do you guys remember the Cyber Twin? That was out, I don't know how many years ago. It's a really cool concept, and the amp sounded really good, but they stopped producing them. So there's still a few of those floating around on the used market here and there. I don't see a lot of takers, but they're there, you know. EF says, in the middle of a Parkcaster build with all Fender Deluxe parts, HH Strat style, Bluesbucker neck / super distortion bridge, kind of an experiment in sound for me. That's cool, man. Sounds like it's gonna be a cool build when you're done. Send over some pictures when you can. That would be really cool. I'm still working on my Telecaster build. I got the parts for that. You guys saw the video on that. Don't worry. I'm not gonna do anything without showing you guys step by step. There's still a couple of parts I'm waiting for them to arrive. As a side note, I'm still looking for my my candy apple red double bound Telecaster body that I've been talking about week after week. I'm still searching for that. Haven't been able to find one, specifically in the candy apple, unfortunately. But I'm still looking. I'm sure I'm gonna find one eventually, and I'll definitely probably have to put together a build on that. Just something that I like. Beavis says, I can't remember who now, but I saw a video where someone was sent a carbon fiber guitar in a soft case and the top got all cracked to hell. Yeah, carbon, I told you, carbon fiber is not good for impact. It's good for flex. Thank you, Charles75N. He says, definitely some gold in that archive. Thank you, man. Hopefully there'll be more gold in there soon. Fat Philosopher fell asleep. No problems. I do that too. I did that the other day. I was like wiped out. I didn't sleep well, and I came home and I'm like, you know, when you got a headache because you don't sleep well, and then the rest of the day you're groggy, you're foggy up there, and eventually I needed like a little nap or something. I never actually got one, but I kind of picked up towards the end of the day there. Jerry said, I heard the Marshall's SV20 is biased on the cold side. I heard that too, yeah. And I think because it's the way it's biased, you can't really rebias it. So I don't know why they chose to go a little bit cold on that. Davis wants to know, when using your FR cabinet on stage, is the tone pretty much the same on the direct outs to the PA? I'm finding the need to go direct at some venues. So I don't usually go from the direct outs in the FR speaker to the PA. If you're going to do that, I just go directly from the fractal to the PA. You see what I mean? That's what I usually do. Gary's thinking about a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe version 4 used. Like I said, those Hot Rod Deluxes are great amps for every day. You can do a lot with them. You know, they're good middle ground amplifiers. You know, they're not like the best. They're not the worst. They're like in the sweet spot. You know, if you're not super picky about what kind of sound you're looking for there. Cushman says, hey guys, sorry I'm late. I had an accident. Busted 5 ribs. Oh man, what did you do? Did you go skiing or something, Cushman? What happened? 5 ribs. That can't be fun. Steve says, ever see an F1 car hit the wall? Yeah, they kind of like disintegrate. The carbon fiber kind of just gets blown to smithereens, right? And, you know, I know a lot of people who are pretty avid cyclists and, you know, have the expensive, you know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 super lightweight racing bikes. And they're great till you drop them. And then the fiber cracks and you have to get it fixed. Vox says the Fender Mustang version 1 was a bit of a disaster with the fizz after Note Thing. One of the things that I noticed on the Fender amps, and it's not just the transistor ones, it's also the tube-driven ones, they tend to like to experiment with cascading gain. The Supersonic is like that. The bass breakers are like that. So most of their amps where they try to include some separate gain channel is like that. And what ends up happening is that because of the cascading gain, you do have a lot of sizzling sound, almost like frying eggs, which people don't necessarily like if they're using their amps for recording purposes. So because of that, you know, they're not necessarily the quietest amps when you're using the drive channel. Something to note in case you're trying to, like, you know, use those for recording. Fat Philosopher says Badlands seem like a bit of a hobby for the guys involved. Please, they thought about lefties. Yeah, I know. That's the good news, is they definitely have some lefties. But like I said, the brand is pretty, you know, it's pretty expensive guitar, $2,600. At the end of the day, Badlands, will it be around a year from now? Who knows? They might, because it's a hobby, because it's sort of a passing thing, they might decide to pull the plug eventually, and you're going to be left holding a $26,000 guitar that you really can't sell. Badlands, it's not like you have a Sir or you have a, you know, something more of a well-known, reputable brand. So I think the price is basically put me off, unfortunately. But I wish them all the success in the world with that. Presley says, got a Telecaster body from Guitar Fetish this week. Killer turquoise color, but the 2 humbucker routes were terrible. I wasn't going to use the pickup rings, so I wasn't going to use the pickup rings. Yeah, that's the thing about those Guitar Fetish bodies. That's why I don't buy them. They look good, but there's always something with them in terms of the routing. It's almost like they're seconds or something. I don't know. So if you get a good one where everything is routed properly and all the depths are good and the neck pocket is tight, you're lucky. But I don't mind spending a little bit more money to get something that's well made. No coughing, no sneezing. Definitely not with broken ribs, man. Hopefully you'll get better soon. It's not funny. Definitely not funny. That's the best thing. Just rest, man. Just rest. Sleep it off as much as you can. You know, watch Oprah or something. Or tune in to Addicted to Gear. Fat Philosopher says, Tony, how often do you change strings on guitars not in a heavy rotation? Say ones you play once a week or so. You know, Fat Philosopher, it depends. Some guitars oxidize like crazy and end up sounding like rubber bands real quick. And it's funny because you don't necessarily have to play them to make them sound dead. I've played guitars, strings that I've had on guitars that I don't play that often, and you hit the low E string and it sounds like a rubber band. And that's typically when I change my strings, when they start sounding like that. If I see that, you know, they're starting to get nicked, and, you know, especially on the wound strings, they tend to get nicked at the bottom where you're pressing against the frets. When it comes time to you know, just to do a mod or maybe an adjustment or something, I usually will choose whether or not it's time to upgrade the strings. Do you like top wrap Les Pauls or not? I do. I don't do them on all my Les Pauls. I've done them on my gold top, which is there. I don't see or hear a big difference. People say there's a big difference. I'm going to say it's negligible. I think maybe the feel of the strings you'll definitely have a different feel because of the way it's wrapped. The tension on the strings will be different over the bridge. But in terms of sound, I don't really hear a big difference. Fat says, here in Japan we have a boutique brands no one has heard of. However, if you ever want to sell, who will buy them? Exactly. You got to think about the long term. Boomster Black says, deluxe blackface, no master, no loop, most used and recorded amp in history, very versatile as a clean tube platform. Exactly. Sometimes that's all you need. You've heard that amplifier so many times in recordings and never probably realized that it was that one. But it is versatile. Rexomatic says, Aaron Short has posted several videos on Rain Song and has used them for gigs for several years. Seems to be a good guitar for changing conditions and outdoor gigs. Again, I think carbon fiber is great for that. And I'm sure, like, I haven't tried that one. I know a lot of people that have tried carbon fiber guitars say that it's very bright. So if you like that bright sound, that's great. But in terms of the test of time, I couldn't say, you know, I assume they're going to last if you take care of them. They should. But again, it's just getting knocked around. Sometimes it doesn't take much to put a crack in carbon fiber. Could be repaired. Not the end of the world, but just you need to know that. Lots of upgrades available. Master loop back in the day, not as much gear. Master volume, it was a thing now. Is that a question? Question mark. Dumble Marshall all came from Fender Designs. Indeed they did. Thank you. Cool Tunes. The Fusion has a great tone. Yeah, it's a great amp. It's a good amp. It's a good amp. It's a good guitar. I find it sounds good. Vox says I need a top wrap because if I don't, the strings cut hard into rear of the bridge between the bridge and the tailpiece, even with the tailpiece jacked as high as she goes. Really? Okay. So maybe, so the tailpiece, so the bridge is not, maybe needs to be lowered there. You can't get your bridge down lower? I know what you're saying. It cuts to the back. Sometimes what people do is they turn the bridge over, if that's the case. Eddie says, for your information, a Floyd and a Godot 1966 can be swapped without any alterations to your guitar. Good to know. So in case you want to convert your Godot to a Floyd or vice versa. Vice versa, as they say in Looney Tunes. Rico, Dan says Leo took the circuits from RCA, gets way too much credit. Yeah, he was modifying radios back in the day. That's how he stumbled on the circuits and designs of some of his amps. Rico says, Tony, one of the big complaints in the Badlands video comments is the volume pot placement. Actually, I didn't really notice. I didn't really like super analyze what's wrong with the placement of the is it too close, too far? Is it because you can't do the pinky swells with it? What was the issue exactly with that? Anyone know a company that makes replacement whammy bars for 25-year-old Ibanez guitars? Good question. I don't. Have you tried a few others just to see if one might fit? There must be somebody making those. Have you also tried eBay? Because sometimes there's a lot of them floating around. I have some whammies that I'm missing on some guitars. I just have a bunch in a bin, and I tend to like try them, and eventually I'll find one that works. It's a pain when you lose them, especially when they're vintage guitars and don't come with them. I don't know. Did you do just a search? There's got to be somebody making custom trem arms. Let me see here. There's always somebody doing something. Custom design and manufactured Strat trem arms. So they have them for the Strats. They have custom easy trem for Fender. Tremolo arm, custom world guitar parts. I'm sure you're going to be able to find something. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not... Custom design and manufactured Strat trem arms. Try them. I mean, maybe you can get a Strat trem arm for your guitar. They make Gilmore Black Strat inspired parts. They make custom stainless steel pop-in tremolo arms. They have a whole bunch of stuff. That's just stratcat.biz if you want to check it out. Maybe just contact them. They might be able to make something for you. Try a local machine shop. You'll have to take it to be chrome though, probably. Yeah, but sometimes you can just tell them to use stainless steel. You know, something like that. Mark says, I just got a Jake Blade trem arm. Very cool, Mark. There's so many different companies out there making custom stuff, custom design pick guards, you know, the arms. There's so many things. I mean, today it's hard to come up with an idea that's original. Like if you want to come up with an idea for something for a guitar, it's like everybody's already doing it. It's just a question of finding them. Dan of New Jersey says, my major issue with Fender is the HRD and them not fixing the overheating resistors, which they could fix in 2 minutes simply by raising them away from the PC board. You know what? Yeah, that's an issue, but I've owned Hot Rod Deluxes in the past, and honestly, even with the heating issues, I didn't have anything, like it never died on me, or I never had to actually bring it to get repaired or anything. So they lasted pretty long. Yeah, you're right, Beavis. A lot of the pedals are nearly identical. They overlap extremely. You know, like a lot of the pedals are like almost playing in the same territory. So that's why, in a way, it's a good thing, because you can probably get a very inexpensive pedal that will sound just as good as a more expensive pedal, or get you really close to it. And if you stack a pedal or two, you can probably mimic the sound without having to spend $300 on a pedal just because it's boutique. Yeah, the hot rod is pretty much bulletproof in my experience. Beavis says, Tony, your dog sounds like the drag on a fishing reel being pulled out today. Yeah, give her a break, Beavis. She's had a really rough couple of days. We thought we were gonna lose her, man. She had like some kind of event yesterday and the day before, and she was struggling for breath for about an hour both days. And so we're hoping that doesn't happen again, but it's pretty scary. When that happens, it's like, you're like, it may be the big one. We may lose our mascot. Hopefully not. Knock on wood. But yeah, you start thinking about those crazy thoughts. So, anybody have anything to say about the fact that we lost David Crosby this week? Every time we lose somebody now, it's almost like I kind of like. I think about the Keith Richards meme where he says, "Hey Mick, look who I outlived this week." It's not funny, but it's kind of funny because he's outliving everybody, it seems. It's going to be a sad day when Keith is gone. But David Crosby, unfortunately, passed away. You know, he had some really nice hits. Quite a few number ones, if I'm not mistaken. Around 1965. The song Turn. Was like a couple of weeks at number one. Mr. Tambourine Man, I think, was at number one for a while. I think those were some of his biggest hits. Not everybody liked him. He had issues with some of his fellow bandmates, including Neil Young. I didn't know this, but did you guys know that Crosby was the recipient of a liver transplant that was paid for by Phil Collins? Did you know that? 1994. He had issues with his liver, and Phil stepped in. The issue was that I think a lot of people knew, and I think maybe even Crosby mentioned that the reason that he had problems with his liver to begin with was alcoholism, drug addiction, and he ended up having hepatitis C because of it, and that's why he needed a transplant. But luckily, Phil Collins stepped up and paid for it, and I think pretty much saved his life. You're right, Beavis. It wouldn't be the same without her. Yeah, I agree. Here, I'll just switch to the puppy cam. One sec. Puppy cam. She's wiped. Poor thing. When this situation happened, it was like, a straight hour or so of her like just gasping for air, and eventually it just passed. So it's almost like an asthma thing. I don't know. It's weird. But it's pretty scary when you're sitting there and you're trying to console the poor thing that's having trouble breathing. It's like there's not much you can do, unfortunately. But she's going to be visiting the vet this week, and we'll see. I'll give you an update next week, hopefully. Yeah, 2023 has been a rough beginning for the music world. You're right. Yeah, I remember hearing a story like that, Wayne. Something about him selling his Martin for drugs. Yeah, even till recently. And did you know that there was a story about what's her name? Man, I'm drawing a blank. Sorry. I mean, just tip of my tongue. Drew Barrymore, that's who it was. Drew Barrymore, believe it or not, when she was a teenager and she was like at the peak and doing crazy things out of control. Ended up staying with Crosby, um, just like hanging out and living with them. Did you know that? You could probably find that story somewhere, and he was like, they were taking care of her, kind of thing. Keith said I had a taco place on the way to Vegas. He walked in with a group of younger adults. I pointed and hollered to my wife. He gave me the big shh sign. I had just seen it. He was on probation out of Texas. Cool story, Keith. No, it's not doggy COVID, Beavis. I mean, the dog's 13 years old. She's probably dealing with some kind of issue. We're gonna have to do some blood tests and stuff, but um, yeah. Billy Beer says, Tony, the dog cam is awesome thing. My cat stays with me all the time. She's with me all the time. She can hardly make it up the stairs anymore. I kind of have to like give her the boost to get up the stairs in the evening, and she's like huffing and puffing by the time she gets to the top of the stairs. But if I go anywhere, she's by my side. Even if she can't make it up or down the stairs, she's calling for me, and you know, they're just like full of love. These dogs, it's just one big furry bundle of love. They're great. If you're not a dog person, you don't understand, but they're great. Amazing creatures. How many of you have seen the Joe Bonamassa 335, the 1962 model with the block inlays? I have to say, I got myself a 335 Epiphone, and I may have gone for the Bonamassa model if it didn't have the wonky whammy bar. I like the block inlay. I probably would have opted for that though. Have any of you purchased that? Have any of you tried that? It wouldn't be that easy to convert the whammy the way it's made, but perhaps you can modify it somehow. They do have the custom, what do you call that? The little cover plate in the back of it. So I'm thinking that it may already have the posts if you want to convert it to a bridge, to regular a regular post. But I don't know for sure. So I'm wondering if anybody owns one of these, if they can confirm that you can convert them, and like just remove the whammy and go with the posts. Because if you could, I would almost sell my Epiphone 335 for that model. I would have to ask at the shop. And I think they're using Burstbucker pickups. I'm not a big fan of Burstbuckers, but the ones in my 335 Epiphone are not bad. They're hotter than what you would find on my Gibson 335 for sure. And they do have the Laurel fretboard, but the Laurel is dark, so it doesn't bother me that much. So I might have to check it out. They have the lock tone Tune-o-matic bridge with the Maestro Vibrola. So it's I've tried that Maestro Vibrola when I did the review on the Epiphone SG. Not a big fan. It's not a Floyd. You can't like whammy the heck out of it and expect it to stay in tune. But I'm wondering if that, if the holes are there, because if they are, I'd probably buy one and modify it. That'd be cool. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about the DGT, Eddie. From what I understand, the neck feels very much like the core model. So if you're concerned about the neck on the DGT, don't be. I think it's pretty much very, very close to the core model. Munch, that is 91 in dog years. She's supposed to be 14 in March. I hope she gets to 14. Vox says my dogs are always within arm's reach unless I set the amp past 7, then they bail on me. Well, the good news is I think my dog is pretty much at this point, not completely deaf, but pretty deaf. She does have cataracts, so her eyes are not great, her ears are not great, but her sense of smell is very, very keen. She'll smell you cooking something from 4 or 3 floors down, and yeah, her nose is amazing. She's very much food driven, this dog. She'll do anything for food. Most labs are like that. Wayne says, love my 4 dogs even when they shit on my floor by accident, of course. Yeah, that's one of the disadvantages with dogs. Luckily, in the 14 or almost 14 years that I've owned my dog, she's almost never had accidents. I say almost because when they're pups. But if anything happens, it's usually our fault because we don't necessarily take her out quick enough, or it's been, maybe we were out or something. But other than that, she's pretty good. Eddie said, I've never felt the core model DGT. You can't touch a $4,000 guitar unless you're buying it. That's not necessarily true. At least the stores that I usually frequent, they'll let you touch them. But technically, they're all the way like 30 feet up in the air. The guy has to come to see you with a ladder, and then of course he's going to be watching you like a hawk when you're playing it. Which is understandable because nobody wants to buy or spend or drop $4,000 on a guitar and have a chip or a scratch in it. Dan says my Pomeranian lived to 19 years old. Literally was fine until the last year. She was a fighter and ran around up to the week that she passed. Yeah. I mean, if they go, and it's time for them to go, I'm okay with that. It's just like making the decision to put them down. If it ever comes to that, that breaks my heart, But at the end, if they're suffering, like definitely if they're suffering all the time, to me, it's a no-brainer. You definitely don't want to keep them suffering. But she's not suffering most of the time, just when that thing happens. And it's only happened twice so far. So I'm hoping, keeping my fingers crossed, that it's not going to happen again. Maybe it's an isolated thing. She's sleeping, she's snoring, she's her usual self, other than the fact that these things come on so suddenly. It's just very stressful. My wife's kind of freaking out at this point. Her biggest fear is like the dog, passing away in the house or something like that, and the kids having to see that. But, let's just hope it doesn't get to that. Let's talk about something else, guys. I really don't want to talk about that anymore. Let's talk about better things. So let's get back to the poll question, since we didn't actually answer the poll question. Should we do that? All right. So the question once again, was if you had $1,000 to spend in order to improve your tone, what would you most likely spend it on? Okay, and we had a couple of options. We had A, a better guitar, B, a better amp, C, more effects pedals, D, music lessons, or E, none of the above. I already have amazing tone. And I'll share the results with you. Beavis, no, her hips are not good, unfortunately. No, they're starting to give her issues, and I have to help her up the stairs. Because she sleeps with us. She won't sleep downstairs, so she has to get up the stairs, and I usually have to help her get up the stairs. But she's still getting there. if I got to carry her, I don't mind carrying her. It's like, all right. So let's get to the answer. So the answer to the poll question is, and please put in your comments if you don't or if you haven't already answered directly in the poll. You can answer here. Here's the results of the poll. So basically, 14% of you said that you'd invest in a better guitar. Okay. 48% of you said you would invest in a better amplifier. Only 5% said more effects pedals. And only 22% of you said music lessons. That's actually pretty surprising. And 10% says none of the above. I already have amazing tone, which is great. And I'm happy for you guys. I would have to say for me, it would probably be music lessons. Because honestly, I realize that gear is great. It encourages you to play, and it does, I guess, mask certain things. If you end up getting a better amp, and if you really have a crappy amp, getting a better amp could be a big improvement in the sound. Obviously, a guitar, if you have a really crappy guitar, going with a better guitar will be good. But the key word is to improve your tone, and I honestly believe that nothing's gonna make you sound better than music lessons. And just be able to get the fingers to produce the sounds from the get-go before it gets to the amplifier and the effects and everything else. So for me, it would be music lessons. I didn't actually vote on this, so I'm not part of the 22%, but it's interesting that you guys answered this way. And Munch says lessons. Mark says, I'm going amp purely for gigging reasons. I'm going amp for gigging reasons. Okay, yeah. Amplifier all day unless someone makes a talent pedal, says Vox Guitars Rock. There may be one. An auto tune for guitar players. That would be cool. And Mark says, if I wasn't gigging, I'd go more for guitar. Fat Philosopher says, I should spend it on an amp, but I'm probably buying a guitar. That was cool. And Munch says, Jeff, that was epic. Did anyone see the Guitar Center video of the guy trying to run out of the store with an acoustic? I did not see that. But I'm not surprised. I've seen videos of guys actually stuffing electric guitars down their pants and walking out of guitar stores. That's not an easy thing to do, man. I think if you manage to walk out of a guitar store after stuffing an electric guitar down your pants, you deserve to keep the guitar. I think. Eddie says 10% already have great tone, you lucky bastards. Yeah, I don't buy that. Your tone could always be better, and great is a relative term, so I don't know. Fat Philosopher says music lesson is a good kick in the ass. Yeah, it is. And Munch says, I saw a video where Jeff Beck picked up someone else's guitar and without changing a thing, it sounded completely different. Absolutely. I mean, we've already talked about this time and time again. You're not going to sound like Eddie Van Halen just because you buy, a guitar or you play through an EVH amp. You know what I mean? You could mimic it if you're really good and you've been practicing the EVH chops. You might be able to, to do a really good job. But at the end of the day, it's just a. Remember that ad? Is it? What was the saying on the ad? It was a Memorex tapes. Is it live or is it Memorex? Remember that? I don't know if you guys are old like me. You probably remember it. But that's how I consider. It's just a facsimile. You know what I mean? You're right, Davis. Speakers are important. I should have put that in the poll, actually. You're right. I don't know if that's true or not, Wayne, that Jeff's hands were insured for $9 million, but I wouldn't doubt it. Considering he liked to work on hot rods and stuff like that, if anything happens to his hands, he's basically out of work. So I wouldn't be surprised. Hobo Roadie says, I got a couple of big amps. They schooled me hard to get some horsepower and let shame guide your fingers. That I get what you're saying, Hobo, and welcome to the show. I haven't seen you before. You're absolutely right. You know, sometimes if you get a loud amp, an amp that you can't really hide behind, and all the defects show, all the bobos, yeah, you're gonna practice and you're gonna hopefully get better. So that is a good way of sort of putting your playing under a magnifying glass as well as recording yourself. Beavis says, I love that recent video of that dude getting Uncle Phil'd out of the door. I haven't seen that. I don't know what you're talking about there. Is it live or is it Memorex? That was the term. The guy on the sofa there, you know, with the chair kind of leaning back, and he was kind of getting blown away by the sound. Mark says his hands are insured for about $20. $1 a finger? $2 a finger. Mine's only about $10. And Gene says, my pedal stimulates the roar of the crowd. You're going to sound like you no matter what you play through. Pretty much, Mark. That's why it's kind of futile to do the tone search thing where everybody's, you buy the David Gilmour Strat and you try and get all of those vintage pedals that he was using and play through the same gear to get the Gilmour tone. I don't know how much that's going to actually work out for you. I think you're still gonna play. It's like somebody trying to sound like, you know, a specific singer, you know, or somebody trying to do an impression. You can get pretty close, you know, you can get pretty close for a short amount of time, but at the end of the day, you're still gonna sound like you know. Rico says, Tony, Guitar Max did the Guitar Center, the Guitar Center tackle video. That's what it was? I gotta check it out. I wasn't aware. Or maybe I did see it and I just don't remember. So I see so many things. Munch says, anyone remember Spirit in the Sky? The story was that a guitar head went through a speaker en route to the studio. On the way to the studio. They had no replacement, so they recorded with a torn speaker, that distortion. Is that true? Because I know that certain people like Neil Young used to like put the razor blade through the speaker cone to get that really raunchy, distorted sound in the studio. So yeah, that'll do it. If a cabinet goes through your speaker, you instant distortion. When I want to hear how bad I sound, I just crank the volume gain on my big amp and play my Telecaster. No place to hide then. That is true. And Jeff says, my hands are worth the bullion scrap value of my wedding ring. So Beavis says, the Guitar Center video, Tony, the dude tossed him out like Uncle Phil from the Fresh Prince. Oh, really? Okay, I got to check that out. Hey, John, nice to see you, buddy. I missed that. Sometimes I miss some of the good stuff. I don't necessarily follow all the channels. My whammy bar is a little bit loose. There's a little there's a hex screw on this thing that needs to be tightened a little bit. I don't know if the volume is out of whack on this thing, so I don't want to play too loud in case you guys are getting like an earful of distortion, which is not not fun most of the time. Let me see. What am I getting here? Is it loud? I don't know. What's everyone working on at the moment? I'm working out some Chet Atkins. Wow. If you can play anything from Chet Atkins, I'm impressed, Vox. Crazy picker that guy is. Beavis says, Jeff, are you a lefty? Looks like a left-handed JM in your little pick thing. Maybe he is. I fixed a hole in a speaker with $1 and nail polish and works good. Really? That's cool. What kind of nail polish? Is it the clear coat? Very cool. Gene says Max made ERT popular. And Tony says, is the Goto 510 a direct drop-in for a Strat 2-point trem? I don't really know. They're all slightly different, these trems. It depends on which one you're referring to. If it's a made in Mexico, if it's a US made. The best is to measure. Just use a caliper and measure just to be sure. I don't want to say yes it is and then you go out and buy it. And then you're like, oh, damn you. It's not. It's best to check. Munch says, I remember asking an old girlfriend for some nail polish to repair a crack. Should have seen her face. I used to do that with my kids, my daughters, and so I'm like, do you have this color? Can I borrow your nail polish for a second? Yeah, I got a Mexican EVH red, black, white. I can't live up to the stripes. Is it bad that I want to repaint it? No, it's not bad. But if you're going to repaint it, make sure you know what you're doing, because painting it's an easy way to mess up a guitar if you haven't done it before and you don't have the space, the skills. Nothing was worse than painting a guitar and having like a bug stuck in the paint when you're done, something like that. It's hard to get a good finished product if you don't have a clean room and good spray equipment. It's hard. You can do it. You can do it with spray cans. I've done it, but it's not always easy. I'm going to play Beat It live in 2 weeks. That I'm going on a cult binge. Sonic Temple album. Love that album. Love that album, Fat Philosopher. That's a cool album. What songs were on that album? Do you remember, Fat Philosopher? I'm drawing a blank. I think there was Edie Chow Baby on that album, or is that a different album? I'm trying to remember. I think there was Little Wildflower. There was Little Devil. What else? Was Love Removal Machine on that one too? I'm trying to remember. I like the little solo part on that. I don't really... Anyway. While playing for kids at school, a kid stuck a pencil in it. Really? Oh, man. Tony, tell Santriani his tone could always be better. It actually can, Gene. I think he uses way too much saturation. I mean, he is who he is, and I'm not going to knock him because he can play rings around me night and day, no problem. But Does he have the best tone? I mean, his tone is good, but I wouldn't necessarily say that he's my favorite. He's the artist with my favorite tone. Even it's like Steve Vai, for example. He's a great player, but I wouldn't say that he's like, I wouldn't go after that tone if it was me. I'm more of a Pink Floyd guy. I'm more of a David Gilmour guy. I have more of early ZZ Top tone. That's the tone that gets me excited. The Jimmy Page tone, that kind of stuff, you know? What was that other song on the album? But that's with distortion, right? Too loud now. How does it go? Is it? Yeah, I think it's just. Yeah. I haven't played that song for years. Yeah, I don't remember it. I haven't played that song since I was in high school. But yeah, it's cool. I like that song. Love Removal, Little Devil. Yeah, Love Removal Machine. Little Devil. Keith said a friend of mine was putting clear coat over candy apple color on a car hood. Next morning, row of ants in finish fell from the ceiling. Oh, man. So he had little tippy-tappy ant feet all over his finish. Oh, man. Come on, Jimmy Page. You got to stay alive for at least another 15 years. I hope, man. I hope. I don't want to hear about Jimmy Page passing away anytime soon. It's going to break my heart. He's got to carry the light. He's got to stick around till there's a next guitar hero, if there's any guitar heroes out there. And I hope there will be. How come everything sounds so... Thank you. Jimmy Page and Black Crowes tour again, please. I wish they would do that. I don't think they will. I think the Black Crowes kind of pissed off Jimmy Page. I heard a story about that. Something about him asking them to do a song and they refused or something like that, and he was offended. Might not happen. If it does happen, would be fantastic. If they actually come to Canada at one point, would be awesome. I love the Black Crowes. And if they could come with Jimmy Page, I would definitely love to catch that. That would be like a great, great concert. I would not want to miss. Don't take the stairway to heaven. Yeah, don't go into the light, Jimmy. Don't go into the light. Not yet. Fat says, problem learning Iron Maiden is there's too many guitar parts. Yeah, they're fast. And there's a lot of them. I don't think Jimmy Page has released new music recently. I know he released some along the way. He did a lot of work on scores for movies. Did you guys know that? I didn't even know that. He did. It's a fact, and I can tell you which ones. Here, let me. I don't know why he did that, but he did. He's even credited for quite a few. So Jimmy Page, if you go to IMDb, well, let me just see here. And I don't know if this is completely true or not, but he is credited for, obviously, The Song Remains the Same, Godzilla, and the Adam Project, because they had good times, bad times in there. But Godzilla, there's the song "Come With Me," which is Jimmy Page. Oblivion, they're using Ramble On, but he actually did music for Death Wish, and he also did what else did he do? I'm gonna say he even did was it a James Bond movie? I think it was a James Bond movie. Anyway, if you look at what he's done movie soundtracks for all kinds of things, and some of the stuff you wouldn't even know it's him. Of course, he also did music for other bands. Heart Full of Soul, solo there. Uh, John says, I love the Black Crows, but it's just a bunch of hired guns now. Yeah, but it's close as we can get. Ego issues, yes, of course. Eddie says, Tony, funny story. I sanded down the neck of a Les Paul to Jimmy Page's spec. I totally ruined a perfectly good guitar. I'm an idiot. Eddie. It's okay, man. You're learning. I actually bought one of my Les Pauls back here because I wanted a guitar with a very thin neck. And I ended up getting one. And here, I'll go get it for you guys. Let me just turn down the volume on this thing here. One sec. If it's in my rack. Give me one sec. Is it here? Oh, no. It's not here, guys. Sorry. I thought I had it here, but it's not. Wait a minute. No. Sorry, it's not here. I thought it was in my rack. It's my Bacchus, the Bacchus Les Paul that I showed you guys and I reviewed on my channel. That one has a really, really thin neck. So it's pretty much like the Jimmy Page style guitar. It has a really nice top color and I like it. And I got it for not much money and it plays fantastically well. It is one of the Les Pauls that I have that is the most sensitive to climate because I think the neck is so thin. So it tends to need an adjustment a lot more often than all my other guitars for whatever reason, but it's still a lot of fun to play. Yep. Yeah, Jimmy was definitely playing sessions in the early days. That's how he started. Guns N' Roses is the best Guns N' Roses tribute band. You know what's really sad, guys? Talking about tribute bands, I was looking at, just out of curiosity, I was doing some reading on Andy Summers from The Police. You guys remember The Police, of course, with Sting and Stuart Copeland. Anyways, he's now playing with a band called Call the Police, and I'm not lying. And it's basically him and two other guys, and it's basically a Police cover band, guys. I felt so bad because it's not even, I don't even think it's that great, honestly. I think, I mean, Andy Summers can still play the Police stuff, but, the singer is trying to do the Sting thing. He has an accent. The drummer, he's doing the Stuart Copeland thing. Like, it's not bad, but it's kind of sad, I have to say. Like, if it was anybody else and it was, they'd be playing at this level, if they were a cover band, I would say they're good. But seeing like the original guitarist of the Police playing in a band called Call the Police, it's sad. It's pretty sad. Check it out if you get an opportunity on YouTube. They have videos. I guess he's gotta keep paying the bills. Jeff says stuff I've been working on lately: Diamonds and Rust, Judas Priest, Falling Off the Edge of the World, Sabbath, and Will Burn the Sky, and the Scorpions. I don't know why you would do that. I would think he has money saved up. I think, didn't they make a ton of money when they got back for that tour that I went to watch? And I paid a fortune for those tickets. I went to watch them with my wife. And they did a really great job. I think they sounded great. Stuart Copeland stole the show. He was the energy driving that show. Sting and Andy Summers were like more laid back, but Stuart Copeland was as ferocious as he always was. I think that guy's got fire in his blood when it comes to playing, and was a great show. So I figured at that point, they probably made enough money to retire. Why is he still doing it? I'm not really sure. Jeff says, I got an old Sir Classic, Tony. It has a red beach neck on it. It's like a lollipop stick with strings on it. Interesting. I'd like to see a picture of that. Fat Philosopher says, Sting is coming here to Hiroshima in a couple of months. Really? Okay. I don't, Sting, if he would be playing the Police stuff, I'd like to see him. But if his new stuff, I just find boring. Yeah, maybe he likes to play. But, he's an accomplished player. He can play jazz. He can play other things. I would assume he'd be making solo albums or doing other things with other artists, Not necessarily playing, rehashing the Police stuff. It's kind of like, if you can't do the original, the real thing, then why do a copy of it? I don't know what other choice he has, but I'm thinking like other musicians, just playing with other people, doing the YouTube thing. Why not? Giving lessons, having a YouTube channel where he's talking about, how do you play the Police stuff? Or I don't know. There's other people doing it, other people his age that are doing it. Robert Fripp. Robert Fripp does it. Who else does it? There's a few other people that I've seen. Yes and no, Charles. I mean, yeah, he's proud of his work. Yes, I'm okay with that. But that's what I'm saying. I don't feel he's doing it justice with this trio. That's my only thing. Maybe you'll understand better if you watch the videos. Just Google Andy Summers Call the Police and watch the video. And then tell me if you feel the same way. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. We've been talking. We've been yapping here for 2 hours. I'm going to stop right now unless you guys have some final questions. We're going to wrap it up because I think you guys have other things to do today. Thank you for everyone who participated in the live chat today. Thank you if you've been kind enough to give me a thumbs up or a super chat or whatever. Subscribe to the channel. It's always appreciated. We're going to be back next week, next Sunday as well. And we'll be talking about some more gear. And in between now and Sunday, you'll probably see some new videos popping up on my channel. So pay attention to those. I always appreciate if you guys watch those videos and comment on them. I always enjoy listening and answering your comments. If I don't answer your comments for whatever reason, it's not because I didn't want to. I just probably haven't seen it yet. But if you tune into the Sunday shows, sometimes I answer some of the questions on the show as well. And feel free to ask your questions here if you don't see me answering on the videos, because this is why I do the Sunday shows. All right, guys, have a fantastic rest of the Sunday. Enjoy your day, play your guitars, have a fantastic week, and please tune in next Sunday where we're going to do it all over again with new topics and new conversation. And if it's if it's your first time and you didn't have the opportunity to ask questions because you came in a little bit late, don't worry. We're here every Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. See you soon.